Buenas noches. Buenas noches, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad you joined me tonight live. I typically go live on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. So thank you for joining me. If you are new to the channel and you are like, what is this about? Who is this lady? What's going on here? Let me introduce myself. I am Adelia Aborshade. Most people know me as Picky Girl Travels the World. I am a financial educator and a relocation specialist. I help Black women live the life they want. I help them figure out the money so that they can travel, so they can move abroad, so they can, open that candle shop they always wanted to, whatever it is for them is living life on their terms. On this channel, we talk about money, we talk about travel, we talk about life abroad, and a few other random things. So if any of that seems appealing to you, go ahead and subscribe, turn on the notifications, do all the things. So welcome everybody, new and old faces. Welcome y'all. Glad to be able to hang out with y'all on another Wednesday evening. Initially, the plan, I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it transparent with y'all. Initially, the plan tonight was to talk about packing for travel. I am currently in Mexico City right now, but I have a flight tomorrow morning where I have to go to the US because the country I am flying to, Italy, does not allow tourism from Mexico. So in order to be able to enter the country, I can't enter from Mexico. And as a US citizen, I have the right to fly there and travel on. So I've got a flight tomorrow and I'm going to be gone for almost a month. And I thought y'all might be curious as to how this bag right here, this is my carry-on, y'all. That's my carry-on. It is small enough to fit under the seat in front of me. My big plan was to share with y'all how I can travel for a month in that little black bag. One small problem with that plan is that I am never in a position to pack more than a couple of hours before I leave. So needless to say, I do not have my stuff together. I'm if I were to rotate the camera, which I'm not because my apartment is a mess, I still have to clean up. I decided, let me make a shirt today. So I still have clothes that I am finishing making and things like that to do. So I can't do the packing video that I had originally planned. That's what we were going to talk about, like how to pack, one bag only, team carry-on, all of that. Maybe I can get my stuff together later on this week and I can film that video if that is something y'all are interested in. So instead tonight, this is kind of going to be viewer's choice. You're going to get to ask me anything. Ask me those questions you've been dying to know about living in Mexico, about being an expat, moving abroad with kids. I don't know. What else do I talk about? Any of those things. So yeah, it's ask me anything tonight. Viewer's choice. And I will check the comments here on the live to see if y'all have any questions. I have some other questions that were submitted a few other places. Let's see. Okay. I'm glad that you were able to make it. Mojo Siedlak. I don't know that I pronounced that correctly, but I'm glad you were able to get out of work and get here on time to join us this evening. Okay. Um, do you buy clothes on your travels? Not exactly. There was one time, okay, there was one time I was chaperoning and driving a student trip. And I was so caught up in making sure all the kids had their stuff that I left my entire suitcase in the trunk of my car in the school parking lot. And so I had to like hit up Target and buy clothes, or I wasn't going to have anything to wear for the weekend. But typically, when I travel, um, I am open to buying things if it is a necessity. But typically, generally, because I don't really shop for clothes because I typically make things, but I will buy fabric when I travel, and bring that back with me. But I reserve, like, I don't stress out about packing because, unless you're going to like outer Mongolia or somewhere, if you forget something, you can just buy it there. So I hope that answers your question. Um, do you have a favorite airline to fly from US to Mexico? Any experience with Volaris? I have flown Volaris. This time last year, I was coming back from Cabo San Lucas, flying back to Mexico City. It is your typical budget airline. Um, so no frills, don't expect a whole lot. I've flown other budget, no frills airlines, Spirit, Ryanair, EasyJet, some of the European ones. It was fine, but probably my favorite is, it depends. If I'm traveling with Mia, my dog, I prefer United because their pet fee is lower. If I'm not traveling with Mia, I prefer Delta, Aero Mexico. They code share here, because they typically will include more baggage. And I also have Delta miles. I don't really have any United miles. So that's my experience there. Who I do not fool with in Mexico is Aero Mexico, not Aero Mexico. Viva Aerobus. I don't fool with them. I have just heard too many stories of them canceling flights at the last minute, changing flights. Like, you're headed to the airport because you think you got a 9 a.m. flight, but they've moved it up to 8 a.m. I don't fool with them. Not at all. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go back to see what other questions are there here. Okay, Mojo. I like this. And I do this sometimes. There are times when, depending on where I'm going or what I'm doing, that I will pack things that I'm cool with leaving behind, and then I ditch them because like it's in bad condition, or this was kind of like its last use. So I do that. I will ditch clothes when I travel. I do that far more often than I buy things. Let's see. How does one pack for a year of travel? Really, you need to think about life in terms of weeks. I would never pack more than, if I'm traveling for a year, I might pack 2 weeks worth of clothes, and just do laundry. Because I love the freedom and the mobility that I have being carry on only, team one bag. Technically, it's a cheat because sometimes I'm totally just in that little black bag, but usually I have this bag, which is dusty, and it turns into a backpack. This is usually where I keep my laptop, my chargers, like things I need very close to my person, I will keep in that bag. So the black bag is my carry-on, that little blue bag is my personal item, and that's how I roll. So I never want to be bogged down by suitcases. So really, I'd never pack more than about 2 weeks worth of clothes. And you do need to have a little strategy when you are choosing the clothes to take with you. It's sort of like when you go to the grocery store and you just buying random stuff, and then you get home and you can't make any food because you got all these random things that don't go together. You don't want to do that when you pack either. Think about things that can be switched, mixed and matched, as well as kind of staying within the same color palette, because that will help you limit shoes, limit accessories, stuff like that. Okay. All right. So I will, not tonight, but I will get y'all some kind of video of what I put in my bag and how I put it in my bag and all of that. Okay. Does Italy only allow vax people in the country? If you do not want to quarantine, you have to be vaccinated. And I'm not sure how long the quarantine is, but I know if you want to avoid quarantine, you have to be vaccinated. And I'm also, the last time I looked at the travel restrictions for Italy, they were good until today. So I haven't really studied them because I was like, I'm going to wait for them to update because my flight to Italy isn't until Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to kick it in the US for a couple of days before my flight to Italy. All right, DT. I actually got this question somewhere else today. What is the expected rent in Mexico City? There is no one answer to this question, y'all. In Mexico City, you can get an apartment that looks like kind of like a jail cell for like $100 a month. Or you can get some of the places that Rashida was checking out that were like $6,000, $6,500 USD a month. I can tell you that if you want your own apartment and you don't want to have to share, and you want ample space and kind of like a moderate level of finish, you're looking at least 10,000 pesos a month, which is about $500. But expected rent, it really depends where you live, how you live in. That's a hard one to answer. Okay. Looking through y'all's comments. Y'all are really talking to each other here. I'm seeing if there are any questions for me. Have I traveled to Europe? Yes. Actually, my last real vacation was January 2020, where I spent a month in Europe, hitting about 9 or 10 different countries. Pretty much, I have been everywhere in Western Europe except Scandinavia. I've been to Iceland, but not Norway, Sweden, Finland. I'm really trying to focus more on Eastern Europe. I've been to Italy before, but that was like 21 years ago. I haven't been to Liechtenstein or Monaco or Andorra. Hopefully I'll get those, but pretty much most of Western Europe, and I hit Eastern Europe in January. So I did Ukraine, January 2020. I did Ukraine, Poland, Czechia, Hungary, Romania, and Slovakia. So I've kind of had my fill of Western Europe, but I do need to do Scandinavia. So at some point, I will do that. When doing a recon first time visit, which place, Airbnb, hotel would you suggest to stay in Guadalajara? to visit any nearby states. Guadalajara is in the state of Jalisco. I don't know. I'm not very helpful when it comes to Guadalajara because Guadalajara did not do it for me. When I was there, I stayed pretty close to Centro because I did not want to have to drive. I wanted to have access to the metro system there. It is not near the size or covers the kind of area that the metro system here in Mexico City does. So my answer to that question is, I don't know. I don't know. Which other states are you trying to visit? Because really, when you're traveling around Mexico, the easiest way to go is by bus. So as you're choosing a neighborhood, you might want to think about, okay, how easy is it for me to get to the bus station? That might be what you want to think about. Can I bring furniture to Mexico when I move? Yes. Depending how you do it, you may have to pay a tax on it. So that's something to consider. I will also add, depending on where you're going to move in Mexico, if termites are a thing, you will want to double check that the furniture you're bringing has been treated for termites, because that is a thing in certain parts of the country. Will you take your cute fur baby with you to Italy? That was the plan, the chocolate stew. That was totally the plan. But I mentioned, because I did a video about like the struggle of planning travel here in the midst of a pandemic. Keeping up with the requirements for me to enter Italy as well as for her, it was too much for me to handle at this time. If we were not in the midst of a pandemic, she would totally be coming with me because Italy is super dog friendly. And we would be living our best lives in Italy for at least a month or so. So she will probably not travel with me outside of Mexico other than going back and forth to the US until we get to a more normalized time in travel, and who knows when that is going to be. So no, she's hanging out with dog sitters while I'm gone this time. Are there new COVID requirements traveling to Mexico from the US? No. Mexico has pretty much stayed the path where they're going. You know, Mexico's like, yeah, we're open. Come on. Let's see. I am going, yes, I know, Abba. I saw your questions at the top and I was just about to say, let me go back up and look at Abba's questions. So Abba asked, okay, this is a question actually, Abba, that I get quite a bit about the best way to find and view an apartment to rent. I have told y'all this many times, and I will continue to tell you this because really things have not changed. When you're looking for apartments in Mexico, particularly in Mexico City, it's really best to walk the neighborhood you're interested. There will be for rent, say renta signs in the windows. The vast majority of the units on the market never make it onto anybody's website or anybody's listing. It is, I put a sign for rent in the window. So that is the number one way to find it. There are websites that I have used, Inmuebles 24, Inmuebles 24, Viva Nuncios, Craigslist, Segunda Mano. I have used those sites and found apartments there, but just know what you see online is a fraction of what's actually on the market. Now, after you find places that you like on the website, contact them to see a showing. It works. Now, it may be different in a place where there are lots of foreigners, like Puerto Vallarta, Cancun, Playa del Carmen. But in most other parts of Mexico, I would say getting a realtor is not going to broaden, It's not going to help facilitate your search that much. So really, you contact whoever is advertising, you make an appointment to see it, find out from them, what do they want to be able to rent to you. That's really the process. Should you wait to contact them when you get a Mexican number? Here's the thing. The vast majority, basically everybody's going to do their contacts on WhatsApp. Having a non-Mexican number will definitely let them know that you're not local. Is that going to make a difference? Maybe not. I'm trying to think. The last time when I was looking for apartments in July of 2020, I did not have a Mexican number yet. So I didn't get my Mexican number until after I moved in. So I was WhatsApping from a US number. I don't think that made much of a difference. I did hold the conversations in Spanish. So if you can do that, I think that will definitely help you. All right, let's see. Does my fur baby have her own IG page? You know what? I contemplated this, but that seems like work to have to keep that up. So no, she doesn't. Let's see. Okay. How good is your Spanish? Honestly, I don't know. I would always say I have the Spanish of a drunken toddler. It's probably better than that. I have been able to, rent an apartment, furnish an apartment, schedule deliveries, like I make reservations. I do pretty much all of that in Spanish. But it's hard for me to objectively say, am I beginning? Am I intermediate? Because I haven't tested anywhere. So I don't know. I can tell you that when I first moved to Mexico City, pretty much I had grocery store Spanish. As y'all know, I am a picky eater. So being able to understand what is in something I am going to eat, or if I'm at a restaurant placing an order, I need to be able to say, I don't want this, I do want this. So I had a bunch of food words and I could say, I want, can I have? But that's really the extent of what I had when I first moved to Mexico. So I don't know. I was in Veracruz for Thanksgiving. And in the part of Veracruz I was in, nobody spoke English. My friend who was with me did not speak Spanish. So it was on me. So I don't know. It's my Spanish is good enough to get by. I would like it to be better. I would like to be fluent. I don't know if that's ever going to be a possibility given my age, but I make it do what it do, but okay. Let's see. When travel to Italy, do you stay close to the city center? Do you stay in a major city? The first time I went to Italy, I was chaperoning a student trip. So I had no choice in the itinerary, and we pretty much hit all the major attractions in 10 days. Exhausting. This trip is about food, wine, and seeing if we can find a few Italian hotties. So, we are staying more centrally located, but that's also, I want to be where the action is. I want to be able to walk around. And do I stay in a major city? It's about what I want to do. I can go to the countryside, like to kick it for a day, but like I like museums and things like that. You don't really find those in rural places. That's not my vibe, but I can do it if that's what we're doing on the trip. Hope that answered your question. You want to visit, Winnie B wants to visit South Korea for about a month. When and where other than Seoul would you suggest? Busan is supposed to be great. In transparency, I've only been to Seoul. And when I went, it happened to be a major holiday. So a lot of the city was closed down. But I hear great things about Busan. Have I ever traveled to Merida? No. And you say, Greta, it's hot and humid. Now you already know why I have never been. I don't do heat. I am that part of my life is over. Um, Maybe in the winter one year I might, but I'm not pressed about Merida. And I know there's a lot of folks who love Merida, but I'm not pressed about it. Um, let's see. I don't know if Georgia requires a vaccine. What I know is that I can travel from Mexico to Georgia. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm vaccinated, so that part when I'm looking at requirements, I don't really pay attention to it. I'm just more concerned with can I get there from Mexico? Oh, okay. Another packing question. How do you handle personal items like big bottle lotions, favorite hair care items? Big bottle lotion, that time is over, y'all. I don't buy that. Here's what I do. Very much pre-pandemic, like I told y'all, I would always have a trip, like literally at least one trip a month. So when I buy, not that I wear makeup, but like face moisturizer, things like toothpaste, I'm already buying them in something smaller than 100 milliliters. So don't have to worry about that. And then when it comes to hair stuff, this is why I keep the hair situation very, very simple, like one or two products. And those 3-ounce bottles that you can buy that are empty. I usually will travel the conditioner of choice at the moment and whatever hair product I use. And then if I'm traveling, let's say more than a month, I will refill on the road. I try not to buy big bottles while I'm traveling unless it's someplace like, okay, in Europe. I could buy a big bottle because I was taking the bus and the train a lot. I wasn't getting on planes, therefore I didn't have to check a bag. But I sort of think outside the box and I keep my routine very, very simple and minimal. And that helps with. Let's see. What time to visit for someone walking mobility issues? Queen, I assume you're talking about in Mexico. I think a soft landing would be someplace that gets lots of tourists. So that's going to be like Playa del Carmen, Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, um, maybe even Mazatlan, maybe. Mm, Bree, I don't have a opinion on this really. Is it a bad idea to move abroad? I don't know. It's going to depend on the country you're considering and where you're trying to travel to. Because, what countries require today and what they're going to require tomorrow, um, that changes every day. Um, Bantu Viking, do you do vision boards? Funny you should ask this. I was contemplating this. Oh, here's what I think needs to happen, and y'all can help me out with this. I think Stephanie Perry needs to do a virtual vision board live because I don't know if y'all have seen her digital vision boards, her virtual vision boards. They are incredible. I think Stephanie needs to do that. And if she does it, I will do it along with her. But on my own, I am not necessarily motivated enough to do that. I think it's an idea, a good idea, but um, I'm not trying to do anything that's like work. Okay, I'm back near the top, and I think I got all the questions at the top. So now I will go down to some of the other questions that I got, which included somebody wanted to know, do you wish you'd moved abroad sooner? I think the answer to this question is yes. Um, but I'm not mad about it. Like, it would have been great that if I could have moved abroad sooner, but it's not something that's on my mind. Like, man, I should have done this soon. I'm thankful I got to do it, and I'm out here doing it. So I'm not pressed about it. Um, Here's another question we got. How do you overcome language barriers? One of the things, okay, when I first left the United States and I moved to Honduras, because I was from Texas, and being in Texas, there's a large Hispanic population, there's lots of Spanish speakers. I kind of thought like I knew some Spanish. I was lying to myself. I did not know any Spanish. And I learned that very, very quickly. And what I also learned traveling, because I only at the time spoke English, is that there is a lot of stuff that you can understand through body language. So that's my number one tip for navigating spaces where you do not speak the local language. I've told y'all before, I lived in China for a year and a half. I only know 4 words of Mandarin. I knew 3 of those before I moved there. However, there was a lot that I picked up in tone, in body language, that sort of thing. If I can't do that, or along with that, I'm using Google Translate. People, the vast majority of places I have been, people have been very accommodating of when you hold up your finger and you say un momento, or hold on, or you just do this and you pull out the phone and you type in and you show them the phone. I have never had anybody act funny with me because of that sort of thing. Okay. Let's see what other questions there are. Oops. Okay. Okay. I think I'm caught back up now to where we were with the questions. This was in response to me talking about my Spanish level. So basically, conversational Spanish, that is something I would never call myself as conversational, because that implies like I want to talk to people. I don't want to talk to people in English. I sure don't want to talk to them in Spanish. So I would not say conversational. I might say transactional, that I have transactional Spanish, but not conversational. Okay, dog sitter. I am registered with Trusted House Sitters. Last year, when I traveled in December, I used a Trusted House sitter, dog sitter. That is who will be watching Mia while I'm gone until the beginning of January. And then when I travel again in March and April, I have Trusted House Sitters lined up. There is a website, I think it's Cuidado Mascota. I'll put a link to it. But they're kind of like, if you're familiar with the Rover website in the US, it's the similar thing, but it's in Mexico. So you can put in your location and you can find a dog walker, a dog sitter, or what have you. That's who I would use if I was in Mexico. I think it's Cuidado Mascota, Cuidado Su Mascota. I'll put a link to it, but and before I used that, I actually had somebody who's a dog sitter here in the city, but I just decided that if I was going to be gone more than 2 weeks, that I wanted Mia to have a house sitter and be able to stay home. I don't know if she cares, but it makes me feel better that she might feel better staying in her own house. Okay. This is a question about apartment hunting and that sort of thing. So once you meet the landlord, agree to rent, how do I get the next part for the eval? Okay. They're going to ask you if you have an eval or a fiador, which is like a cosigner, a guarantor. If you don't already have one, you can go out and get your own policy, jurídica. You can go out and get your own. There are companies that you can just buy one. When I got this apartment, they had a company lined up for me, and they were just like, this is where you need to send the money. And then I got the policy. So it depends. It depends. Another apartment question. Miss A. Jones, I've been curious about bathtubs. Are they hard to come by? Yes. Yes, they are. The either very high-end new places have bathtubs, or older places that are like old, like 50, 60 years old, they have bathtubs. But like bathtubs, tinas, Tina, that's the word for tub, they are hard to come by in Mexico. Yeah, I do miss taking baths, but yeah. Okay. Okay, this is an interesting question from F Doctor. Which state and country have you resided in the longest? As of right now, if we look at total amount of time, I have lived in the country of Mexico for the longest, and it has been 2.5 years total time that I have spent in Mexico. If we're not even looking at total time, if we're looking at, just a stint, currently, let's see, August, September, October, November, December. Currently, I have just surpassed the amount of time I lived in China, this time in Mexico. So Mexico's number one after the US. Let's see. No, I have not been to Mazatlan yet. Because when I thought about going, it was summertime, and I told y'all I don't do heat. So that's again another place for the winter. So as it has started, it starts to heat up. I know we're still technically in winter, but most of the winter I will be already gone somewhere else, and then it'll be summer again. Okay. I'm looking in the comments. Y'all talking about virtual visual board. I'm down, but I'm not a self-starter when it comes to stuff like that. This is why y'all need to talk to Stephanie and get her to do it. And then we can all work together under her tutelage. That's what I'm telling y'all. Okay. That's what I'm telling y'all. Have I had any family members visit me in Mexico? Yes. My youngest daughter came to visit me when I lived here before. Actually, I got a Facebook memory today. We were at a Maluma concert because he came to Mexico City. And so she came to visit. My god sister has come to visit, my BFF. And then I've had a couple of friends who have come to visit. This is by far the most visitable place I have lived thus far, that people want to come. So yeah. And then I also had another question about family. Okay. Someone asked, was it hard for your children to adjust to life abroad? Only my youngest lived abroad. My oldest, my travels and me living in Mexico gives her anxiety. She is like, I'm glad you do that, but that's not for me. My youngest one, it was not super hard for her to adjust. and I really had no idea how she was going to do. I really I had no idea. But the school that I worked at and where she attended school, it was super small. Like she was in the 10th grade. I think there were 7 10th graders total. Okay, so super small. So the kind of attention and interaction she had with her teachers, she'd never had anything like that. Um, because I think of the security situation in Honduras, you didn't necessarily like, other than the mall, you didn't like go out places as a teen. So having a social circle and getting together at different people's houses and going to restaurants, that was very much a thing. And I mean, she wasn't there a good 2 weeks and she already had like a full social calendar. So my 15-year-old did not struggle. And no, she had no Spanish when she got there. She picked up quite a bit. She was able to place out of Spanish 1 because at the school she attended, she took Spanish for second language learners. But that was enough for her to place out of Spanish 1 when she went back to the US. She was in Spanish 2, and she was like, I know all this stuff. So she didn't really struggle making a big adjustment. I think maybe had she been younger, it would have been even easier. So she was a sophomore in high school and didn't really have um, any big issues. Okay. So here's another question. They write, my greatest concern aside from money is who will be my people? What are your strategies for developing meaningful relationships in community? Y'all, I have met some of the most incredible Black women in my time living abroad. And many of them are, like super close, like these are my people. Especially because I'm an introvert and I'm not going to talk to strangers. For me, building community, I used social media so that it would be like Facebook groups. Like last week when Robin was on, we talked about us connecting on the Expat app, XPAT. So that's how I was able to connect with people. I also find events like pre-pandemic Facebook events. I was always up in there and like, oh, this thing is happening. Let me go do that. Meetup.com. Those have been the ways that I have been able to cross paths to find other women in the various places that I have lived. And that has worked out really well for me. Okay. Junket had a question. If you couldn't be in Mexico City, where would you be? That is an excellent question. I don't know. Um, I don't know, but I do think about this question because I have mentioned to y'all that I would like to have residency in at least one more country. And I do wonder where that would be. I suspect, I don't know, Portugal, like Lisbon. I really liked Lisbon. I like the vibe there. I liked it more than I liked Spain. But I'm wondering if Georgia might be a good place for me. I don't know. We'll know more about that later this spring. Um, she also asked, besides expenses, what else determines where you would move? For me, it's really about city life and weather. I cannot live any place hot. I lived the first 41 years of my life in Houston, Texas, where it is hot and it is humid. And I told y'all that part of my life is over. So it needs to be, but I can't do super cold either, which is why I'm in Mexico City because the weather is incredible. So weather determines where else, as well as can I be in a big city where I don't have to own a car, that's got a good international airport where I can travel? And I want to be in a place where I think people are fairly like easygoing. I think that's one of the reasons that Mexico, like, I vibe so well with Mexico, because Mexicans, for the most part, worry about themselves and mind their business. There's not a lot of, well, you need to do this, and which I find a lot of in the US. Um, and so there was one more question here. What are your strategies to make yourself at home in a new place? Um, that's a good question. Because see, I'm trying to think of like, what did I do here in Mexico to make myself at home? But Mexico City just like instantly felt like home, so I didn't have to work at it. Like China, Hefei never felt like home. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that I expect places to feel like home. I think I kind of go with the vibe of the place, you know. But if I can find a good bakery, if I can find a good hot chocolate spot, I'm set. I'm set. Um, okay, let me go back and see what questions y'all had. Y'all had some more. Um, okay, house sitting question, pet sitting questions. Yes. On Trusted House Sitters, you can get somebody to watch your goats if you want. So it doesn't matter what kind of pet, you just put that in your posting. On the website that I used in Mexico, it is dogs, cats. I don't know if they do pets beyond that, but yeah, cats aren't going to be a problem. Um, some Greta asked about learning a language. I attempted to take a Spanish class at a community college or like continuing education thing. I took French in high school. So every time the teacher would ask me something, a French word would come out of my mouth. I did not really start to pick up Spanish until I had to use it. That's what made the most difference for me. Um, what's it like bringing the dog to Mexico? Pretty easy. I do have a whole separate video about traveling with her, because bringing her to Mexico was so easy compared to the the hassle and the ridiculous amount of money I had to spend to take her to China. Um, Nobody did an exam. To come to Mexico, you need to prove that your dog has been vaccinated for rabies and treated for internal and external parasites. That's it. Um, I know the legislation says they inspect your dog, but basically her head is popped out of her bag and they look over the counter at her, she looks at them, and that's the extent. We've never had anything more thorough than that. When we fly into the US, at most they're like, oh, there's a dog in the bag. It's never any drama. Let's see. Do I use a VPN? Yes, but not necessarily for the reasons that y'all are probably thinking of. Yes, there is the bonus of being able to make your computer appear to be somewhere else, and maybe you want to watch Netflix or HBO Max or Hulu or whatever. I have a VPN because I don't want people seeing what I'm doing on my computer, especially because I will often be working in coffee shops, in cafes. Use my VPN so that people can't get on that Wi-Fi and then get into my computer. I don't know how all that works, but I know a VPN stops it. So yes, I use Fast VPN from Namecheap. I think I paid $12 for the whole year. I've been very pleased. If anybody watching this is going to China, you definitely need a VPN. You need a VPN before you get there. I used PandaPal when I was in China, and it worked really well for me. Sorry, JL. I cannot recommend any companies that help you with the temporary residency application process for here in Mexico. I have had a work visa in Mexico, and I've done uh, residency on my own. I've done both of those basically on my own. I can tell you that a consultant or a lawyer should not cost you more than a few $100, like under $400, probably closer to 200. If somebody's talking about charging you more than that, no. But you don't technically need it, but it does make things go a lot easier. Um, Interesting. Doris, you're the second person. Somebody else asked me this question earlier today. Is there a body of water near CDMX? Valle de Bravo has a large lake, um, like a lake that you would go out and like boat and probably jet ski on. You can tell this is not my specialty. I know there's a couple of lakes in Bosque de Chapultepec, which is the really, really big park here in the city. It's like twice the size of Central Park. Outside, there are rivers and waterfalls within a couple of hours of the city, but like big bodies of water, I think Valle de Bravo is the closest. Um, Thank you, F Doctor. This is a very big compliment. I don't writing a book. I'm like, who wants to read about my life? But thank you for the compliment. Let's see. Oh, okay. So somebody asked about an update. The jeans have not been made yet. I had told myself I was going to make the jeans for this trip. But I have hee-hawed around the last week and a half, and I do have a pair of pants that I made. Y'all will see pictures of this in the trip because, I pack light, so outfits are gonna get repeated. But I did make a pair of pants. They're more like slacks. And I told myself, I was like, well, you can make a jeans, but I could not bring myself. I wasn't in the mood to cut out the jeans. So the jeans still haven't been made, but I have made a pair of pants and a shirt for this trip. And I could have made more, but I wasn't very focused, and that's okay. What I have learned is that December is not a month I should ever try and do work in, because no matter what, my heart just ain't gonna be in it. So in the future, just know December, Adelia's just gonna take that off. I'm gonna take it real easy. Okay. In Italy, the plan is Venice, which I am not excited about. I hope Venice was my least favorite place when I went to Italy the last time. I am hoping that it's better, that maybe I didn't give Venice a chance, but I am not looking forward to that. Florence, Bologna, and a quick side trip maybe to Modena and to San Marino, because it is very hard for me to travel and only visit one country. So in a trip, I love to get multiple countries, and San Marino is a microstate. So I'm gonna hit that up so I can at least get 2 countries out of this trip. I am traveling with my best friend, and she is not about hostel life. So that was never a possibility. We are going to do a mix of hotels and maybe an Airbnb. I find that in the pandemic, hotels kind of have a little bit of a leg up, because if you need to find out where can you get a COVID test, that kind of thing, because there is staff on hand. It's a little easier. So we kind of were like, let's do hotels, but we might do one Airbnb. It'll see. My trip in the spring, which is a solo trip, maybe hostels. I don't know. It depends. I tend to go to hostels, but I've not wanted to stay with strangers during the pandemic, which is why last year when I traveled, I stayed like in a guest house. So it was like a step above a hospital, but below a hotel, because I got my own room. I don't want to stay with strangers during the pandemic. Let's see. In Mexico, if you don't want to live in Mexico City, but you want good weather, pretty much think central Mexico. Uh, Guanajuato, like San Miguel de Allende, Querétaro, Puebla, kind of that central part of Mexico. To me, that's where you're going to get the best weather. Okay. Okay. Miss Val wants to know about finding a vet and which airlines are known to be pet friendly. In Mexico, I don't know that there is one. I hear lots of people say great things about Lufthansa, and there's one other one, but I've never flown either one of those. I will say that because my dog travels in cabin, it's to me it's not a big deal. We can basically fly whoever. She's flown Spirit before. Now, if I had a larger dog that had to go underneath, that would be different. I know people want to jump on United, and I've seen several posts recently about the number of pet deaths, that United has more of them. But one thing people often forget is that United accepts snub-nosed dogs. Those are those smush-faced dogs. Other airlines won't accept them at all. They have a hard time breathing, which is why many of them don't survive. So I don't know that I have any preference. I do know that Korean Air has like a frequent flyer program for pets, which I thought was cool. How do you find a good veterinarian? In Mexico, basically, I walk out the door, you walk down the street, there's a veterinarian. There are so many. I have not taken any kind of recommendations. I've just kind of looked on Google who's close to me. In my old neighborhood, I was just walking around. And stumbled into a place because I needed a travel certificate for the dog. And in this neighborhood with no foreigners, I'm trying to stumble through what I need to, and she goes in English. She says in English, "Do you speak English?" And I was like, "Oh my God, you speak English?" So I haven't had to work really hard to find a good vet here in Mexico. Now, in Honduras and in China, it was about asking other foreigners for recommendations. But here in Mexico, it's been very easy because there are so many. Do you use dual SIM card phones? Yes, exclusively. I am a big fan of the Motorola Moto G series. I have had a G4. I currently have a G7, but I cracked the screen on it. And I went yesterday to get the screen repaired, and they almost wanted half the price of the phone. And so I was like, maybe I just go ahead and buy me a G9. So it's quite possible if I can't find a cheap place to get the screen fixed, I'm gonna have a G9 next week. I like that Blue, BLU. That I've had several of their dual SIM phones. I like it. I have no interest in ever having an iPhone, so there's that. Okay. Okay. In that same vein, Linda asked, do you have both a USA and Mexico phone number for banking services? Okay. I have a Mexican number, and that is the number, like, if I'm ordering stuff online, if I am for my bank, that's the number I gave them. I have a US number. I have a Google Voice number. I have 3 different numbers. I have a Google Voice, I have a US cell number, and I have a Mexican cell number. And I use WhatsApp with my Mexican cell and my US cell number. So, but not necessarily for banking services, but I know what you mean, because like Ally Bank will not send me an authentication code to my Google Voice number because they know that's not a cell number and they won't send it. So I do have a US cell number, but mostly I keep US cell service so that when I travel, I don't have to worry about trying to get a SIM card. If I'm in a country for 5 days, I don't want to spend a day or two trying to find a SIM card. I like to be able to land and already have cell service. That's why I keep a US cell number. Okay, y'all, we need to correct this. Miss Stephanie Perry, I believe, told y'all that I was a seamstress. I sew, but I am not a seamstress. To me, a seamstress is somebody who sews for other people. I am selfish with my sewing, and I only sew for my. As adults, I have sewed for them one time, and they had something to say, and I was like, see, this is why I don't sew for y'all no more. So no, I would not call myself a seamstress, but I make my clothes. I see the distinction there. Y'all may not. Let's see. I answered the I have a Android phone. Okay. There is a video, and I will link it in the description on my channel. I did a conversation with Curious where we talk about, what's better, hostels or Airbnbs. A hostel can be like a college dorm. It can be. But a hostel can also sort of be a luxe, luxe hotel. It all depends. There are all kinds. I have stayed in hostels. I've stayed in dorm rooms where there were 4 people in bunk beds. I've stayed in ones that had 8 people in bunk beds. I've even stayed, I don't do this anymore, but I've stayed in rooms with 20 people in bunk beds. I don't do that no more. Now my limit is 4. But there are also hostels where you can get your own room. What I tend to find so far is that those tend to be more expensive than some of the budget hotels that I can find, like especially when I was in Asia, when I was in Malaysia, I got really nice hotel rooms where it was just me by myself. But then again, I stayed at one place in Kuala Lumpur. It was kind of a cross between a hostel and, those, what do they call them? Not pods. What is the word? Where basically it's like just your bed. It was really, really cool. And I forget how many beds were in that room, but it didn't really make any difference because you know how you have those pull down window shades? Well, the bed had that. It was very cool, brand new, sparkling clean. Mostly I prefer not to share bathrooms with large numbers of people. So the hostel rooms I choose, I don't want to have 15 people in a bathroom. I'm not about that life. So they can be like a college dorm, but they don't have to be. They can be very nice and have bars. Like one of my favorite hostels is in New Orleans, the Quisby. Love that place. So cute. Okay. Okay. I think I told Stephanie that I was going to do a video about Amazon Mexico. I know I said that, but I don't know if I'm gonna do that video. But yes, to answer your question, just Fatima, I have ordered from Amazon US while I was in Mexico. I have ordered from Amazon Mexico while I was here. I have ordered from Mercado Libre, which is kind of like if eBay and Amazon had a baby. I've ordered there. I have ordered from businesses in other countries that do international shipping. Um, I tend to prefer to do that versus ordering from an American company that does international shipping. And so far, knock on wood, none of my stuff has gotten stuck in customs or anything like that. My US phone carrier is Google Fi. I had my mind went blank there for a second. I will drop a link. I have a referral link. If anybody wants to go with Google Fi, you get $20 free. I get $20. Everybody wins. That is who I use. Prior to that, I used T-Mobile, but my experience so far with Google Fi is a little better, especially with the ease of when I don't want to use the Google Fi service, I can just suspend it. And then I can, like, here's the thing. Who was it that was asking about bank stuff? Linda, you were asking about like authentication codes with banks and stuff like that. Like PayPal, they do this to me all the time. I freaking hate PayPal. I'm trying to log into my account and they're like, oh, we're going to do two-step verification. I will turn on my Google Fi. I will get the code. I will turn it back off. Google Fi doesn't charge me anything for that. Like, I guess if I have the service on for less than an hour, or I don't know how many minutes, but they haven't charged me. So that has been very nice to be able to suspend the number when not in use. Because my Mexican, I pay $10 a month for Mexican cell service. Why? But I only need the US service pretty much when I travel. So why use it all the time? I like being able to suspend it. Let's see. Do I know anything about Querétaro? I know that Querétaro kind of disappointed me. I need to give it another shot. When I went, I was just underwhelmed. And I think it's because I was primarily in the downtown El Centro part of the city, and it's not like Centro here. It seemed to be more set up for tourists. So there wasn't a lot of activity going on. So I don't know. Okay. Good question, Greta. Will a U.S. carrier cancel your service if you're living in Mexico long term? Probably. When I had T-Mobile, what I would do is I would turn off my T-Mobile SIM when I was in Mexico. But like when I was in Kuwait, because within days I knew I was not staying, so I did not bother to get a Kuwaiti number. So I totally only used my T-Mobile service when I was in Kuwait. And I would get these text messages from T-Mobile like, oh, we noticed you're using blah, blah, blah. And eventually T-Mobile throttled me. And then because I had been using the service consecutively outside of the country, I got a message that said, look, you've been out of the country this long. You know, if you don't come back, we're going to discontinue your service. The trick to keeping a US service like T-Mobile, AT&T, is when you are in another country to turn it off, turn off data to it when you're not using it. If you can still make Wi-Fi calls or what have you, that's great. Because remember, when you're in other countries, you're doing roaming and that's costing them a lot of money and they don't want to be giving you that service and you're not paying for it. Ooh, this is a good question, Josie. Under what conditions does buying instead of renting in CDMX make sense? If you are this is just my opinion. This is not based on any research. This is only based on my observations, because real estate here does not move at the speed it does in the United States. For instance, in the US, if a house is on the market more than 30 days, people are like, oh, maybe you need to lower the price, that sort of thing. A house here would typically be on the market 2 years, 3 years. So to me, because you can buy easily. I don't know that you can sell as easily. You would have to really have some commitment to having property here. Like, so if you're looking for an investment property, I think that's perfectly fine. But if you're like, you feel like, particularly in Mexico City, you think that buying might be cheaper than renting, no. Um, you're going to be hard pressed to find a nice apartment for less than 1 million pesos. Um, and so, like in the US, you buy something, you get ready to move, you sell it. Well, would you want to do that here if you might have to wait 2 years before the sale would go through? So I think if you had aspirations of owning property outside the US long term, you would buy. If you were buying investment property, you would buy. But as just like having shelter for a year or two, no, I wouldn't buy, because it's too hard to get in and out, I think. Anita, I don't think you're gonna like my answer. I know everybody loves San Miguel de Allende, and it's cute. But I was hard pressed to know, what do you do there other than have drinks on patios and balconies? I don't know. So it's not a place that I fell in love with, but that's me. Josie, I did a video with Anne. Anne's last name starts with a B, about buying property in Mexico, because she bought an investment property in Playa del Carmen. So you might want to check that out. It's not hard to do. Like I said, buying here is easy. Selling is where it gets tricky. Okay, we got a couple of more questions. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, we have a question about Google Fi. And how do you talk to your family in the US? Okay. When I first left the US, I did not really think about keeping my US number. I had a Google Voice number. I'd had this Google Voice number probably for 10 years. And so I just started giving that out, because I could either use the Google Voice app on my phone, or I could talk to people on my computer. They wouldn't have to, the people in the US wouldn't have to worry about like country codes or anything like that. That kept it simple. It became obvious to me that I needed international phone service when I would travel. The first time I traveled and I no longer had T-Mobile, because that's what I had in the US when I first left and moved to Honduras. And the first time I traveled without international phone service, and I was like, oh, you mean I got to get a SIM card? I got to be limited to Wi-Fi only? I didn't like that. So that's why I ended up getting service again, but not necessarily to talk to American family. They were just using my Google Voice number. You don't have to change numbers. Like I could have, if I had given it thought, I could have taken my original US cell number and ported it to Google Voice. So my number would have never changed. It just would have been a Google Voice number. And having my Mexican SIM, as long as I continue to pay for it, even if I'm not using it. So I have the same Mexican number that I've had for the last year. Now, if I were to leave Mexico for 4 months and I didn't pay the $10 a month to keep the phone on, I would probably have to get a new SIM and a new number when I came back. But so far, that's not been a problem for me. Okay. This is interesting. There's several interesting questions here. What are your thoughts about certain expats that move abroad and are not willing to adjust to the culture? I live abroad and I find the other expats stay in their own American groups. They don't try to interact with locals or the culture. They only time they speak to the locals is when they are being serviced at restaurants or stores. They don't try to learn the language, even though they plan to live there. I find this strange, blah, 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 blah. For me, part of my desire to live abroad was to learn another language. So I do find it odd. I particularly find it odd for people from the US who often will be the first folks to jump up and say, well, you're in America, you need to speak English. But they don't keep that same energy when they go to somebody else's country. I do find that odd. And staying in their expat bubble with people from their home country and not, immersing themselves, even if it's, periodically in the culture of their host country. I don't understand that. Because that doesn't fit with my philosophy and how I feel like, like how you should embrace other cultures when you live in those countries. Now, was I in China trying to embrace Chinese culture? No, I'm not going to lie to y'all. I'm going to keep it real. But which is why I wasn't trying to go to China. I knew it was not a culture I could embrace. Therefore, I was not trying to be there long term. So I'm not one to tell other people how to live, but I do find that unusual that you would want to be in another place, but not start to embrace what it means to live there. Yeah, so that's that. I'm going back through to see. I think I answered all of y'all's questions. I do need to pack and wash clothes. Like, I put off washing clothes to the last minute, knowing I don't own a clothes dryer. So, what was I thinking? But I like to live on the edge. I like to live on the edge. It'll all work itself out. I forgot about needing a COVID test to go to the US. I went for a walk this morning and we passed the pharmacy and I saw some people outside who looked, to me, I thought, oh, they look like they're getting COVID tests. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. You need to do that too. So luckily, on our way to breakfast this morning, I was able to pop into a pharmacy and get a COVID test for like $16, I think. And so I got that squared away, but I did forget, and I should be more on top of things. Normally, y'all, I make a list. Like, although I don't typically pack until the hour or two before I need to walk out of the door, I do make a list of these are the things you will need. And so, like, I should have had my list. COVID test should have been on my list. So I need to go do that and finish this pair of pants. I need to hem them. And so I'll be off. Yes, I got my results. I did an antigen test. So I got the results in 20 minutes. I forget how long it's supposed to take for PCR. The one PCR test I took, I got same day. I took my test at 9. I had my results by 6, but this was back in March. The last time I went to the US, I did an antigen test because I didn't decide to go until the day before, literally. So yeah. And then once I get to the US, I'll have to sort out what kind of tests I need for Italy and the countries I'm transiting through. I need to remember what countries I'm transiting through. So yeah. Queen, as far as I know, whatever number of days you get on your tourist card when you enter Mexico is pretty much what you get. I have not heard consistent ways to extend that, which I know can be frustrating. But yeah, I know that can be frustrating. Okay. So I said we were going to make this viewer's choice and that you could ask me anything. And y'all really did ask a little of everything. I appreciate y'all joining me tonight. I will the plan next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern for y'all, which will be sometime early Thursday morning for me. The plan is to go live. I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about next week, but that is the plan. So I should be seeing y'all here again next week. In theory, I should be in Italy. So we'll figure out what topic we're going to talk about next week. But I will see y'all then. Wish me luck that I can get my house clean and my stuff packed and maybe get some sleep tonight before I head to the airport in the morning. And I will check in with y'all on IG and on here. And I'm trying to think if there is anything else I need to say. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to tell you to subscribe and hit the like button and turn on notifications. You know, do all the things. Y'all be safe this week. Don't let the holidays stress you out. Remember, we are team do as little as possible. Okay, and that includes for the holidays. And I will talk to y'all again next